The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This Prime Minister has lost control, but he's clinging to power with the help of his NDP Liberal leader coalition partner, who said, I'm going to quote the NDP leader here, he said the Liberals are too weak, too selfish, and too beholden to corporate interests to fight for people. He bemoaned the fact that the Teamsters and the ILWU were forced back to work, violating their right to strike. How can this Prime Minister cling to power with the help of someone who says he's too weak and too greedy to govern?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative leader has spent the last few months in this House trying to demonstrate that Parliament can't work for Canadians. He's been obstructing debate. He's been obstructing our ability to move forward on delivering for Canadians. And indeed, every chance he gets, he votes against measures that would support Canadians, whether it's the tax break that we're giving over the next few months, whether it's moving forward on dental, on a school food program, on more spots in lower-priced childcare. These are things he's voting against because he just wants Canadians to believe that everything is broken. Well, it's not, Mr. Speaker. We're continuing to believe in Canadians and build a stronger future together.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, Canadians want to fire that costly Prime Minister. His MPs want to fire that costly Prime Minister. The only one keeping him in power is the NDP leader, who again says the Liberals are too weak, too selfish, and too beholden to corporate interests to fight for people. Oh, and now they're complaining that Canadians might choose me if there were an election. That's not their choice. It's not my choice. It's not any of their choices. That's the decision of the Canadian people. So why doesn't he turn the decision over to the people who run this country, Canadians, in a carbon tax election?
Hear, hear.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Once again, the Conservative...
Again, ask honourable members not to take the floor. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, once again, the Conservative leader demonstrates that he's trying very, very hard to prevent anything from being delivered for Canadians, whether it was dental care, whether it's the tax break that Canadians are getting off the sales tax for the next few months, whether it's initiatives around childcare or a school food program. He has stood up time and time in this House again and again to vote against measures that directly support Canadians, that grow the economy, that help people out, because his political argument relies on people being broken, Canadians being divided, people being angry. That's not the way we're going to...
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
We'll fix everything he broke, Mr. Speaker, as my great finance critic said. And, you know, let's start with the carbon tax. The Indian Resource Council announced today they will be presenting a resolution at the Assembly of First Nations Special Chiefs Assembly to take the Liberal NDP Prime Minister's carbon tax to court. They say, we will not stand by where our communities are pushed further into poverty by the tax we never agreed to. And they want to dispel any notion that lower-income First Nations are better off with the carbon tax rebate. Mr. Speaker, why won't he listen to courageous First Nations people and have a carbon tax election?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Indigenous people have been the first and have for the longest stood up to highlight the dangers of climate change, the impact of neglecting our environment, of not protecting our lands and our oceans, particularly against the previous Conservative government of which that member was a part. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, the Canada carbon rebate puts more money back in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians right across the country. We will continue to fight climate change by putting more money in their pockets, despite the attempts of the Leader of the Opposition.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He's talking down to First Nations people again. They said that they've done the research, and I quote, They want to dispel any notion that lower-income First Nations are better off with the carbon tax rebate. In rural and remote communities where First Nations live, the tax drives up their food, their heat, and their transportation bill so much that the Ontario Liberal leader, Bonnie Crombie, has said, I promise you, I will tell the Prime Minister he was wrong on issues like the carbon tax. Why won't he listen to Bonnie Crombie and other Liberals and call a carbon tax?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
It's just getting
Speaker,
roasted.
Indigenous peoples across this country know better than most the costs of inaction on climate change, the impacts of extreme weather events, the impacts, quite frankly, of Conservative underinvestment for years in the kind of infrastructure and supports they needed. We turned that around, Mr. Speaker. We started treating Indigenous peoples and communities as partners. We invested in fighting climate change. We're putting more money back in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians with the Canada Carbon Rebate. We are continuing to make sure that protecting the environment and growing the economy for everyone goes hand in hand. That's the path forward.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister talked about seniors. Well, let's talk about them. The Prime Minister admitted that there was discrimination in increasing old age security for those 75 and over. His party says he supports our bill to end discrimination in general. He says he supports supply management, but he is not doing anything to support the swift passage of our supply management legislation. He should unblock things here in the House so that we can pass our anti-hate speech bill. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Yet another example, Mr. Speaker, of the Bloc Québécois looking to pick a fight. Meanwhile, we are delivering for Quebecers and Canadians. We are investing through dental care. We are helping seniors who have often a lot more expenses or maybe less savings. We are doing good things for all Quebecers and all Canadians. We will continue to be a partner to all. Meanwhile, the Bloc Québécois and the Conservative Party are trying to block this Parliament, and they're trying to block help and support to Canadians, to Quebecers, to seniors. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. We don't want any squabbles. We do want so-called common sense. We could unblock the Parliament unanimously. Here's what I want to see. I want to see each member in this place who won't rise to support a vote to put an end to hate propaganda and hate religion-based hatred. So who will vote for that bill? Will the government support it? Yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as we've said, we're very open to discussing and debating that matter. That said, we acknowledge that there can be more than one solution. There's no easy, quick fix solution. There might be many solutions. We need to keep working together. That's why we made Bill C-63 to tackle online hate. It will protect children. There will be solutions through C-63 to fight hate speech and discrimination, especially online. We do have work to do here in this House. So why doesn't the Bloc Québécois block Conservatives from continuing their filibustering?